Very warm welcome, everyone. My name is Crystal and along with Marios Sakidis, we will be RMCs for today. On behalf of the local organizing team of the Cyprus Open Digital Futures Week and the NGI's regional representation, and in collaboration with Open Forum Europe and the Cyprus Institute, it is our great pleasure to welcome you to Open Source in the European Union. Open Forum Europe's Capital Series event taking place for the first time in Cyprus. We are now on day 4 of ELAC's Cyprus Open Digital Futures Week, created to bring together another layer of the digital policy conversation to the surface, and that open source is not marginal, that it can offer alternatives and solutions, and that digital transformation can be guided by public interest, democratic accountability, local capacity, and care for the digital commons. Today is one of the central moments of the week, a bridge between European-level open source policy discussion and the local ecosystem here in Cyprus. The Capital Series brings Brussels-level conversations on open source policy into national and local contexts. And today we ask, what do these discussions mean for Cyprus, and what kind of digital future is Cyprus helping to shape? Cyprus is already shaping digital futures through policy choices, procurement, research priorities, public-private partnerships, education systems, and institutional alliances. And the question is how consciously we do this and in whose interest. Will these choices deepen dependency on closed platforms and external infrastructures, or can they strengthen public value, interoperability, democratic accountability, local capacity, and care for the commons? So we have people here from policy, research, public institutions, and the free and open source community, along with civil society, technology, education, and business. And as we move through the program, we invite you to listen for information, of course, ideas and visions for what's possible, and for alliances, for the capacity already here, and for the missing pieces. European digital sovereignty cannot exist only where the conversation is already advanced. It requires alignment between European policy ambition and everyday institutional decisions on the ground. And Cyprus is not peripheral to this discussion. It is part of the test of whether Europe's digital sovereignty can become shared, practical, and distributed.
Welcome everyone. A few practical notes before we begin. We have a full program, so we will try to keep closely to time. Please keep your phones on silent. There will be a coffee break later in the afternoon. And after the formal program, we invite you to stay for drinks and informal conversation. We have enjoyed such meetings the days before. Please also stay for today. Before we begin, we invite everyone to notice the unusual composition of this room. We have policy people, academics and researchers, technologists from cybersecurity to AI to business, public sector actors, civil society, business and community organizers all together here. These groups do not always speak the same language. Today's value may come precisely from this effort to translate across different worlds. A phrase we may want to keep with us today is this: digital sovereignty is a capacity, not a slogan. It is built through infrastructure, standards, procurement, research, skills, open communities, public institutions, and the ability to inspect, maintain, and govern the technologies we depend on. This is why open source matters, not as a niche technical preference, but as a condition for security, accountability, interoperability, innovation, and public trust. We are grateful to Open Forum Europe, the Cyprus Institute, and to the organizing committee, of course, partners and sponsors whose work and support have made this gathering possible. So to begin, we would like to invite Laszlo Ignatzi, Executive Director of Open Forum Europe, to welcome us on behalf of Open Forum Europe and the Capital Series. Thank you. Laszlo.
Thank you very much. It's a great privilege and honor for me to stand before you, to return to Cyprus and also to represent Open Forum Europe. We are a Brussels-based non-profit think tank, an independent and neutral organization that advocates for the high power of openness in the digital IT sector in general for more than 2 decades now. And we do this through engaging to the European institutions and also keeping alive collaborative relationship within the open source and open tech community in general, and bringing these two bubbles together, kind of facilitating the information flow and the meaningful discussions. And we are very happy that we could come to Cyprus as well with this Capital Series initiative of Open Forum Europe. Capital Series means that every half a year we go to the capital of the running EU Council presidency, and this half a year is obviously Cyprus. And we bring the topics to discuss with the local communities. So it is not that we organize a conference and then we invite international participants to come and visit the country. That's also really good. But the concept is not that one. The concept is that we engage with the local communities, so that's why, as it was very nicely presented by our Masters of Ceremony, that the participants in this event is quite a broad scale, because we want indeed to be engaged and to have a live discussion on topics that matters locally and experiences of the country that could be reused, could be learned from, and could be brought to the next edition of the Capital Series or in any other fora or papers or studies in the future. So I encourage everybody to be interactive. So we will have 4 panel discussions, 2 keynotes. There will be opportunities to ask questions and to contribute to the discussions. And this is indeed what we expect also during the breaks. I really enjoyed the talks already during the lunch. It was really meaningful. If we would have gathered together only for the lunch, then already this day would have been a merit, I can tell you. That was really good. But we are going to have a coffee break, and we are also going to have a reception at the end. So it is again a great privilege for me to be with you today. I wish you a great afternoon, and I look forward to get some takeaways at the end of the program. Enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Laszlo, and we're especially happy today to be hosted by the Cyprus Institute. The support of the Cyprus Institute honors us greatly, and we're especially grateful to the Institute's Innovation Directorate. I would now like to invite Professor Stavros Malas, President of the Cyprus Institute, for a few words of welcome.
Thank you everybody. Welcome to the Cyprus Institute. Special welcome to the Ambassador, of course, and colleagues from Open Forum Europe, and of course colleagues from Cyprus. Now, I have to thank, first of all, our colleagues, the Director Department, the Innovation Director, rather, that organized this, and many of you that are attending. I also have to thank Donald Trump. This discussion, it's really underpinned by a political context. I belong to a generation of people that worked for many years in a consultative role in actually helping shape all these enabling technologies that Europe needs to become a strong player in the global world. For those, and I think Ambassador, I'm sure you remember, that remember about strategies in Europe. I remember something called Lisbon strategy that was launched in 2001, and it said that Europe will become the strongest economy in the world, overtaking the United States. It was named the United States, and of course it was for me always a question why the two blocks of allies were in such a competition. Indeed, a number of technologies developed that were facilitating research and innovation and so on. One technology that is moving, of course, very fast is the digital technology, and that is the technology that Mr. Trump wants to use to overtake the world. He wants also to cut the supply of energy to China because these things, particularly the data centers, are burning up a lot of oil and energy, so he's trying to cut that off. Since he's actually been in power, and as a result of his very successful policies, foreign policy just about everywhere, he has pushed Europe to wake up to what is now called sovereignty. Sovereignty in being able to run its affairs, to defend itself. And for those that follow political developments, since Donald Trump was elected, about 2 weeks later, the commissioners, European Union, came up with, on the 11th of March 2024, I believe, with the strategy about developing sovereign defense policies. I'm not necessarily in favor of that, but nevertheless, Europe took very firm decisions to be able to wean itself, at least from the dependency on the United States in a number of ways, and digital technologies, and of course, access to the tools and the software will create a strong competition. Now, we all use AI. There's nobody in this room that doesn't use ChatGPT or whatever else. And so we're becoming addicts to this because some of these things are very good for getting information out and for putting. So I just want to ask you to put yourself in a situation in a few years from now when these things will actually be controlled a lot more and they will cost a lot more. Yeah? So open access, it's really in Europe's ability to create those resources, not just in AI, but a number of software, is key to actually maintaining the momentum. Now, at the Cyprus Institute, we're playing our part. We have colleagues here leading the Digital Innovation Camp, Vasilis here. We also have the HPC that was recently inaugurated. Well, we always had it here, but we added more stacks and more capabilities so that we're enabling the local ecosystem from being able to use AI and machine learning, particularly the private sector. So we are the HPC machine learning AI infrastructure node of Cyprus. There is a whole network of these capabilities in Europe. That's one of these enabling technologies. So, and we're working also with industry in that way. So, having thanked Donald Trump, I'd like to thank you even more for being here with us and looking forward to listening to some of the challenging discussion later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Malas. We are also honored to have with us today His Excellency, the Ambassador of Switzerland to the Republic of Cyprus, Mr. Christoph Bergener. Please come. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you very much. Dear host, dear Stavros, dear Laszlo, ladies and gentlemen, dear speakers, dear panelists, dear sponsors, thank you very much for welcoming me and for welcoming Switzerland here to the podium. It's not that evident that a Swiss ambassador takes or can deliver a welcome speech, but I am really keen and honored to put the Swiss flag as well when it comes to artificial intelligence, when it comes to technology. Normally we are more in cheese and watches and tennis. Tennis used to be, we are not anymore, but now I'm really happy now that we are as well, we can show the flag on technology. So after 4 years here in Cyprus, I can say with confidence that this island offers far more than its natural beauty, rich history and famous hospitality. Cyprus is increasingly establishing itself as a hub for technology, innovation, and international cooperation in the Eastern Mediterranean. The Cyprus presidency of the Council of the European Union came at a particularly important moment. Europe is navigating profound, not only political, but also technological change. And the key question is no longer whether technology will transform our societies. It already is. The real question is how we shape this transformation. Will technology reflect our democratic values, protect human dignity, and strengthen our societies? Or will it challenge the principles we stand for? In today's increasingly complex geopolitical environment, you mentioned the president in the US, Europe has now really a special responsibility. It must ensure that innovation remains anchored in transparency and accountability and respect for fundamental rights. Technology should empower people, not replace or diminish them. The Cyprus EU presidency's motto, an autonomous union open to the world, captures perfectly the spirit of today's conference. Strategic autonomy, digital resilience, cybersecurity, and innovation are not only technical issues. They are questions of competitiveness, security, prosperity, and democracy itself. When I speak about Europe, I also include Switzerland, although our relationship with the European Union could perhaps be described as it's a little bit complicated. Yet our close cooperation demonstrates how countries can work together to address shared challenges, and Switzerland is proud to be one of the world's leading innovation ecosystems, home to institutions such as the ETH in Zurich, the EPFL in Lausanne, the CERN in Geneva, and the Paul Scherrer Institute. We are equally proud that Geneva will host a global summit on artificial intelligence in 2027, reinforcing Switzerland's commitment to innovation and international dialogue. For countries such as Cyprus and Switzerland, science diplomacy offers a unique opportunity. It allows us to contribute to solutions far beyond the limits of our size. In a world where influence is no longer measured only by size and by weapons, knowledge has become one of the most powerful currencies. Let me give you an example of how small countries' court rulings can make a difference. Took place last week in Zurich. Last week, the Zurich Commercial Court largely rejected Palantir's attempt to force a Swiss online magazine to publish extensive counterstatements to its investigative reporting. Palantir had brought the case to the court, arguing that the magazine's articles contained inaccurate or misleading factual claims about the company and about the company's efforts to win contracts with Swiss authorities and the Swiss Army. The underlying reporting of the Swiss magazine documented concerns of Swiss authorities about sovereignty, legal compliance, and dependence on foreign technology platforms. The company sought to compel publication of 23 counterstatements that it said were necessary to correct the public record. The court approved only one narrow correction point. This ruling, that can be challenged at our federal court in Lausanne, reinforces protections for investigative journalism in Switzerland. For Switzerland and Europe, the case is likely to intensify debate about data sovereignty, digital independence, and the role of foreign technology providers in sensitive government functions. To make it clear, this was not a judgment on the equality or safety of Palantir's technology. Rather, it was a significant decision about the protection of editorial independence and over technical sovereignty and dependence on foreign digital infrastructure. But let's come back to diplomacy, to science diplomacy. In fact, science diplomacy often achieves what traditional diplomacy, I have to blame myself, sometimes struggles to accomplish. While diplomats spend their days negotiating text and writing reports, researchers create tangible results, lasting networks without borders, and practical solutions. Science does not simply talk about cooperation, it makes cooperation happen. Science diplomacy is getting more and more important, especially for small-sized countries. That's the reason why our Ministry of Foreign Affairs is building up a strong science diplomacy division. When I entered into the diplomatic service 30 years ago, we had one or two persons who were in the science diplomacy. That were still a little bit, you know, they had no ties, they didn't come to cocktails, that were a little bit the strange people there. But now, more and more, we know the importance, and science diplomats, they really became now a jewel in our ministry. Because, especially in Switzerland, we rely on science, we don't have any natural resources, and we really have now to get up and with the science diplomacy. One topic that deserves particular attention today is open source, of course. Switzerland sees open source not merely as a technical choice, but as a strategic one. It promotes transparency, collaboration, innovation, and public value, as you said. It also creates opportunities for countries like Switzerland and Cyprus to participate actively in shaping the digital future. This commitment is reflected in Switzerland's Federal Act on the use of electronic means for the fulfillment of government tasks. It generally requires software developed for the federal administration to be released as open source. It is a strong expression of a simple principle: public money, public code. Ladies and gentlemen, our digital future will not be built by technology alone. It will be built through trust, cooperation, and shared responsibility. I hope this conference will spark new partnerships and ideas for new solutions. I wish you inspiring discussions and a successful conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, especially for the last very inspiring sentences as well. So our first keynote is by Thibaut Kleiner, Director of Future Networks at DigiConnect, the European Commission's Directorate General for Communication Networks, Content and Technology. As Europe is asking how to strengthen digital sovereignty, resilience and strategic capacity, this opening keynote helps place today's discussions within the wider European policy landscape. Please join us in welcoming Thibaut Kleiner.